would come to $51 million now. And the only thing you had to really believe in then, America would progress as it has ever since 1776. And that American business, if America moved forward, American business would move forward. You didn't have to worry about what stock to buy. You didn't have to worry what day to get in and out.
We all think that if we just figured out a way to earn more money, all our money problems would go away. What we don't realize is that it's actually your emotions that are holding you back. And The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is the perfect book to help you with this. Lesson number 1, pay the price. Did you know that in any 20-year period, 100% of people who bought and held the S&P 500 index fund made money? That's right, 100%. Yet most people will immediately start selling their shares as soon as they see a dip in the market. They are acting on fear. And fear is the reason most people fail at investing. This harsh truth runs deeper than you think, but more on that in a bit. Instead, if they saw this dip as a fee for being able to stay invested in the market and for getting the opportunity to make money in the long term, they would likely be patient and stay invested. Investing in the stock market requires a strong stomach and discipline. Buying stocks at a low price and selling at a higher price will obviously make you rich, but it's not free money. The price you pay is the stress and psychological suffering you endure to weather the dips over the years. After all, there is a reason that the richest Wall Street traders are also the ones who get the least sleep, who suffer the most stress. For you, as the average investor, it's better to focus on pretty good results that could be repeated for a long time instead of trying to hack your way into the absolute best investments that can make you a 100% return overnight. As the author says, good investing is not necessarily about earning the highest returns, because the highest returns tend to be one-off hits that can't be repeated. I'm looking at you, GameStop. At the end of the day, there is always a price to pay. And this doesn't just apply to investing. Imagine you're a huge watch enthusiast. One day, as you're lazily strolling through the mall, you walk into the Rolex store. You stare at the $5,000 watches, knowing full well that you can't afford them. Suddenly, a thought pops into your mind. Why don't you just steal it? Being a model citizen, you dismiss this criminal thought. But what if you were successful in your little heist? If you're anything like most people, you would constantly have the fear of being arrested in the back of your mind. That is the price you paid for the watch. People often forget that money isn't the only way to pay for something, and your psychological suffering from making a risky decision can be a much heavier burden. No matter what you do, you will always pay the price. Lesson number 2. The rich never have enough. The wealthy never run out. Craving social validation keeps us poor. Focus on building wealth instead. Let me explain. What is the difference between being rich and being wealthy? Most people think they are synonyms, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Being rich means you have a lot of money hitting your bank account, but usually from only 1 or 2 active streams of income. Rich people are commonly associated with tangible material possessions, like fancy cars, yachts, and jewelry. However, most rich people are high-paid employees who receive a large annual salary. Even if they make a lot of money, if they spend most of it, they are rich, but not wealthy. Because if they suddenly lose their job, their standard of living will also drop substantially. In stark contrast, being wealthy is what you actually want, even if you don't realize it. This means having assets that cover all your living expenses and then some. This gives the freedom of never having to worry about money ever again, even if you never work again. Wealth is the rental property you don't see, the investment account with millions of dollars, and the online business generating passive income for years and years. Isn't the freedom of knowing you can buy anything you want better than going out and buying them? The rich never have enough. It's all about comparing yourself to others. Instead of setting clear goals to give yourself and your family the best life possible, you end up worrying more about out-earning your neighbors. What's the point of that? There will always be someone richer than you. This constant obsession with winning the financial gold medal has led already rich people into doing terrible things. The best part of being wealthy is being financially secure for the rest of your life, and having lots of time to spend with your family and friends. So just enjoy that. As Teddy Roosevelt famously said, comparison is the thief of joy. Lesson number 3. Your perception is limited. Why do poor people buy lottery tickets? Everyone knows that their chances of winning the lottery are lower than having a wild 10-legged dog attacking them in the middle of the Arctic, or some other crazy statistic that is very hard to even comprehend. While it may be hard for you or me to understand, we have to get into the minds of these people to understand why. When you're working a minimum wage job and supporting a family of 5, a lottery ticket is more than just a piece of paper with random numbers on it. It's hope. A chance for you to escape your miserable life. Or at least a fun thought experiment imagining how you would spend the $100 million if you ended up winning. The reality is that most of us suck at understanding things we don't have direct experience with. Our perception is limited, so stop assuming that you have all the information. This also applies to entrepreneurship and investing. In the 1970s, Bill Gates had many qualities that are required to be rich. He was smart, hardworking, and focused. And most people's perception of his success is limited to these 3 traits. But he also went to the only high school in America with a computer. He was quite literally 1 in a million teenagers with access to a computer in those days. Probably more like 1 in 10 million if we're being accurate. That access to a computer was the element of chance that most of us neglect. If you as a parent just tried to copy what Bill Gates did for your own children, by sending them to the same school he went to, having them work as many hours per week as he did, assuming they already have the natural talent and intelligence of Bill, they would still have a nearly 0% chance of becoming a billionaire. Having access to a computer at a young age no longer puts you in the top 0.00001% of the world. You shouldn't follow outliers. Instead, look at habits and strategies that are common for the most number of successful people and focus on implementing those in your own life. As an investor, learn to not copy others. Focus on your own goals and what works for you. Most investors, even those with decades of experience, tend to overestimate their skills. They unconsciously assume that their perception of the market is accurate and try to beat everyone else. These are the people who try to time the market just right, so they can be the ones to sell their shares at the height of the market. It rarely works out this way. The truth is that it's better to prepare for disasters that can't be seen, mentally and financially, instead of hoping that you'll react faster than everyone else. If we all just assume that our perception of the world around us is limited, it becomes much easier to make rational decisions that are most likely to work in our favor. Lesson number 4. Seduction of pessimism. Haters gonna hate. We've all heard this expression before, but we might not realize that being a hater actually gives us an evolutionary advantage. This is why most people would rather miss out on winning $100 than potentially losing just $20, even if the odds of each were equal. As our species evolved, it was more important to refuse dangerous activities that could jeopardize our survival than to take risks that could greatly benefit us. For example, early humans who came across a new type of fruit that looked and smelled unusual likely didn't try eating it. These were the ones who potentially avoided being poisoned and lived long enough to pass their genes onto the next generation. Even if someone eventually tried the fruit and realized that it's delicious, perfectly safe to eat, and quite good for health, the decision of their ancestors was not irrational. After all, what you stand to gain by trying the strange fruit is a lot less than what you might lose, your life, if it turns out to be poisonous. This is why pessimism spreads faster than positivity. If I told you that the economy will crash due to COVID, unemployment, and the housing crisis, you'll probably be skeptical of investing in the market. You might even thank me for warning you. But if I talk about all the advances in infrastructure, health, and technology such as AI that will boost our economy, there is a pretty good chance you'll view me as naive, overly optimistic, and perhaps even ignorant. The harsh truth is that optimism is treated as naive, while pessimism gets all the attention and make you sound smarter than you really are. We listen to pessimists more carefully. I'm not telling you to throw caution to the wind and do whatever your heart desires without thinking it through, but to become more balanced and not so easily influenced by marketing and social media. Look at both sides of the argument and make the decision that has the lowest risk to reward ratio for your specific needs. Lesson number 5. It's okay to fail 99% of the time. Before founding the Huffington Post, Arianna Huffington tried her hand at a number of projects, including a poorly received Picasso book, a failed bid for governor of California, and an unsuccessful attempt to create a spirituality and self-help website. However, in 2005, Arianna and her team had an idea to create a new type of news website that would combine high-quality journalism with a social media platform, and hence, the Huffington Post was founded. And it immediately became a major success, gaining millions of visitors before selling to AOL for $315 million in 2011. The key idea to understand here is that despite her several failures, Ariana's decision to start the Huffington Post proved to be correct, and more than made up for all the losses she previously suffered. Most people are terrified of failing. Often, when I talk to my family or friends about wanting to start a business, they start telling me stats like 99 out of 100 businesses fail within the first year, or similar to that. But what they fail to realize is that this statistic applies to the likelihood of a single specific business working out. If you keep trying new business ideas over and over again, the chances of all of them failing become smaller and smaller. If you were to start 100 businesses, the chances of all of them failing, using that same statistic, would be only about 36%. And this is assuming you don't learn anything from your failures and have the worst luck possible. The same idea applies to the stock market and investing. For the average Joe, the best way to invest is by allocating your money into broad market index funds such as the S&P 500. Even if many of the companies that form the index go under, it just takes a few mega successes to turn you a hefty profit. So understand that nothing is free, and in the stock market, you often pay the price with your emotional volatility instead of money. Understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy, and stop giving in to envy. It's not worth it to compare yourself to others. Your perception is limited. You don't understand what you haven't experienced, so make decisions that are rational and most likely to work for you. Avoid giving in to pessimism and keep an open mind. The world isn't as bad as the news and social media makes it out to be. Do your research and consider the pros and cons before making any decisions. And understand that you don't need to win 100% of the time to obtain financial success. Sometimes making one right decision can outweigh 99 bad ones and put you on the track to financial freedom.